Hey everybody. So I am going to address a subject today, which of all the subjects of any of my videos in the past or future videos that I am to make might be one area that I'm the most probably qualified to speak on. All right, and the prompt in this video is coming from reading through the comments of various other YouTubers' videos on things of demonic nature and stuff like that, where while I was leaving a comment, I happened across other comments of people claiming that evil does not exist, and demons do not exist, and people cannot inherently be evil, or if they do evil things, then it's not because of possession or whatever. I don't know if these individuals are just blessed enough in their lives to have never experienced actual evil, or they're so deceived or misled by secular teaching or whatever, or governments or whatever it is, that this is the case, or new age stuff or whatever it is, right? Because that's like the theme that I've seen in a lot of these videos, because I don't just watch just Christian content or just Jewish content or just historical stuff or educational stuff, obviously. I mean, I try to find knowledge and gain understanding through a variety of topics, because I feel like there can be things that are they can bring forth, right, understanding and wisdom and knowledge in a great diversity of things if you're able to discern what is important, what is truthful, what is just complete BS, and whatnot, and whatever. Now, I mean, at this point in my life, there's nothing that could shift me to a place that is worse than I've been at some points in my life. Let's put it that way. So why do I say that I am probably the most qualified to speak on this subject? It's not because I have experience with demonic possession personally. It's not because luckily I've never had to see like an actual exorcism or anything like that, because I'll tell you what, some of the content I've seen that document that stuff, I mean, that literally, I am not afraid of anything. I've had so many weapons pointed at me, assault rifles, I've faced death, and I've been there and back more times than anyone probably will have to experience in a normal life, unless they live maybe in like a war-torn nation. And I put myself in those situations every single time by my choices and my lifestyle and my experiences. And that's just the way it is. So that puts me in a unique position to speak on this, even though, thankfully, and I think the only reason that I haven't seen any of that stuff is because even though I was out there committing crimes from the time I was 12 years old, we grew up not having like anything. I mean, we had what we needed, which should have been enough, right? But I always had this desire to have more and not just be barely getting by, right? And the funny thing about it is everything comes full circle, right? because right now, at this moment, I had more money in my pocket when I was 12 probably than I do right now, which is like the saddest thing in the world for someone that has that mindset. And I still have it. It's like ingrained in me. It's just a capitalist way of life, and it's very difficult for me to just walk away from a finally legitimate successful business to just return to God. So I've never doubted God's existence. I've never had problems with belief or anything. I just always knew without, we were Catholic growing up, my family, but we went Christmas, Easter, maybe Ash Wednesday, maybe like 3 to 4 times a year. So, and we didn't read the Bible in the house. We didn't really talk about anything like that. We were just the lukewarmest, if that's, I don't know if that's even what what I'm trying to say, but we were like Catholics who were not practicing other than in those special occasions. So even in that, and throughout school and getting into things I got into, that never changed my belief. I just knew, and if anything, it made my belief stronger, because eventually I was face to face with God, because I was dead. And not when I was born dead, which that's a different story, like I've gone into in previous videos, but I was there. My spirit left my body, and that, for the first time, as I said in another video, it's the only time ever in my life that I felt at peace and just okay, right? Which that was a big thing. Like when I was brought back, I was mad. I was so mad. I'm still mad to this day. To be honest, like I don't mince words, and I don't BS. When I was finally arrested for the charges, 15 massive felonies I was finally charged with in a massive organized crime and drug trafficking operation, which I was at the center of, second or third in line of, targeted in it, which only by pure grace of God, because had they had busted us when they tried to the previous occasions, I would have been number 2 on that without, and the papers were all focused on the top guy and me because of my family history, my ability to thwart every attempt throughout from the age of 12 on until I finally met justice at the age of 30. I was under investigation multiple times, and I just always seemed to somehow, by the grace of God, avoid them bringing charges against me. And it was, I was tipped off a few. It wasn't always by the grace of God. Maybe there was other things involved. But that's neither here nor there. The point of it is, and I'm not trying to glorify that, what I'm trying to say is that I think that's the only thing that shielded me from actually seeing anything of demonic nature in a pure sense like that. And I thank God for that, because that's the only thing that terrifies me. Like I said, I'm not afraid of any man or any weapon or any, not even death. The only thing that I fear of is when I die, that I don't have that feeling I had before, and then I'm separate from God. And I literally pray, in every prayer almost, I pray, like, do not, I know I deserve punishment. I know I deserve consequence. I have no misconceptions about that. But whatever it is, don't let my faith or my trust in you stray from it, stray from where it's at. I don't care what you put me through, just do not let me be separated from you. And when it's over, it's over. No hard feelings. I know I brought this upon myself, right? So, and people always seem to think I'm lying about this, but when I was arrested, I made the dumbest move, which I was told by everyone, criminals and law enforcement and my lawyer and another lawyer and everyone else, my family and everyone, that I was the stupidest person on earth, because 15 felonies, possible life in prison on one charge alone, of those 15, and I pled guilty as soon as they arrested me. I said, yeah, you got me, I'm guilty. They were just looking at me like, that was like the easiest thing we've ever had to do. What? Like, you're not going to fight this? I'm like, nope, I'm guilty. But here's why. I have problems. I have tried to get help. I can't change. And it is what it is. But I don't really care, because I don't answer to you. And then they thought it was nuts, which that didn't work to my favor either. Could have, I guess, if they found me insane or something to not stand trial, right? But that's not the case. I mean, I literally looked the DA in the face after he's like, they came to, they do this to everyone. They bring you in, they say, tell us what you know about everyone else. Well, unfortunately, being one of the people that had, you know, the most involvement, there was only like 2 people I could have snitched on if I wanted to. And to my detractors of this, I spent my entire time in the county, 8 months, with the person that I could have snitched on if I was going to. And we actually rode the bus to prison together. So they don't keep people in the same areas that are talking on each other. So, because you get your paperwork and all that stuff, so you know. So there was 8 of us in that jail, and we were all separated except for me and the top guy. So if that doesn't tell you anything, that should, right? So long story short, the DA meets with me and says, "You're screwed. You pled guilty. You don't have any chance. Like, you're getting the minimum on all this, and that's well over 20 years right there." So I looked at him and I said, "Well, that's not up to you." And he's like, "What?" He's confused. I mean, there were detectives in the room and everything, because they're like, "Just tell us everything you know, and you could walk out of here tomorrow." First of all, I knew that was BS, because, like I said, I was facing one charge that could possibly give me life. So, first of all, they don't just let you out, right? And I don't know why they would think that. Maybe because I had pled guilty right from the beginning, they thought like they could play me on that or something. But they should have known, because I had been brought in many a times for questioning, and they never got anything out of me except for complete and utter defiance, let's say. And if anything, they just got more mad at me, or I really screwed with their heads. And I'm good at that, because I'm more intelligent than most of them. That's how I avoided being caught for so long, other than the grace of God. Most detectives aren't really that intelligent. I hate to break it to anyone out there, but it's just the truth of the matter. And although they might seem like good people, let me tell you, that's a falsity too. If the common person knew how many politicians and law enforcement officers and government officials and public officials and your everyday person that has a 9-to-5 is involved in things that are illegal. Not all of those are evil, just illegal, right? They would be literally flabbergasted to the point of disbelief, and that's why no one does believe it. It's just so absurd, the levels of criminality throughout society, right? Everybody's doing something that's not right, and a lot of people are doing a lot more than they'd like to assume, and a lot of people who are pointed with getting rid of criminals are some of the biggest criminals, and I can tell you that beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's another reason I avoided getting charged for so long. In fact, the DA that I'm talking about in this situation is now a felon too, a convicted felon, and it stemmed from charges that he committed during the time he was the DA at this exact time. He didn't do a day in jail, so of course not. But anyways, that's besides the point. He'll get his due consequence too. So I said no, obviously. But I said, I don't recognize your authority. And I'm like, my God is great. My authority is greater than yours. Like, and they thought I was talking about me or something. And they're just like, okay, John Gotti. Like, well, I'm like, that has nothing to do with this. I said, you don't understand. I said, I answer to a higher authority than you. I said, and I'm not going to do a day longer than what I deserve in the eyes of God. And the DA literally laughed in my face. He said, oh, you think God's going to save you from this? And I was like, I didn't say save me from this. I said, I did wrong, and I'm going to do time for that. And I know that. I said, but I'm not going to do a day more or a day less than God wants me to do. And I had that complete faith and trust the entire time. I mean, I prayed ridiculously. I read front to back Bible twice, the entire Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, in the 7 months before I even went to prison, while I was just sitting in the county jail waiting my time. And when I was about to go in for my 10 years, before at the last second being miraculously saved by multiple events that would later play out due to illegality once again by the government and law enforcement, that prophetic message that I gave that DA who laughed in my face, and all the detectives who laughed and thought it was such a joke, and their blasphemous stuff they say, like, these people are not good people. Some of them are. There's good people everywhere. There's bad people everywhere. And there's evil everywhere. And if you think there is no evil, let me attest to you that you don't have to be witness to demonic incarnations to know evil when you see it. Because from the time of the age of 12 to when I got busted at 30 and then in prison, I was able to see a lot of good and a lot of bad. And a lot of the bad things that people say are bad are not evil things. They're just illegal things. They're wrong in the eyes of the government, or not saying that they're like great things, probably most of them, but they're not things that, if you're a good person, God's going to be like, oh, well, you know what, you didn't pay your taxes this year to the government, or this, that, or the other thing. You're going to hell forever for that. That's just not the case, right? So there's a difference, and I made that very clear to them. They didn't think I was correct, but I'm out on the outside free, so that should speak to that a little bit. And everyone is on that case. Out of all of us facing multiple life sentences, not one of us is still in there. So if that doesn't speak to it, I don't know what does. But on the facts of evil, right? These people think evil doesn't exist. They think either people have a moment of misjudgment, or they're going through a rough time, which is very often the case. But there is definitely evil people, and I will attest to that very much. Unless you've been in a criminal organization or in the criminal life for a long time, and on the deep end of it, like real thick of it, in a major drug trafficking organized crime case, or I don't know, you're whatever you are involved in that's real thick like that. If you're just a street thug or whatever, I don't know, maybe you don't see it like that, right? But when you see the multiple levels and layers of how vast and deep and crazy things are, and people getting shot, people getting executed, people getting chopped up, people, whatever the case may be, or rumors of such. Not saying that I've seen that, because statute of limitations might not be up on that, of course, because murder, so I definitely didn't say that. And I don't care what you do to me, honestly. You can't do anything to me that I haven't done to myself. So, the fact of the matter is this. There are people out there who get off on sick stuff. And the best example I can give of this without getting myself in trouble is in prison. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's an equal number of people in there that are probably mostly good people who don't deserve to really be in there for the length of time they are. Maybe they've done some wrong stuff, but generally speaking, yeah, you're right. Most people aren't evil. Most people aren't. They might have done something evil, or they might have been influenced or whatever, but could just be a mistake, could be an addiction, could be this, could be that. You're right, 100%. But let me make it very clear to you. There are people who are not mentally ill. And let me tell you what, they're not. They're sharper than I am. They're more twisted than I am in any way possible. They're sick. They get off on sick things that there's nothing else on this earth that can describe it other than pure evil. And I mean, the Bible says what to do with those certain people, and that's what should be done to them, in my opinion. I don't care if you think that's wrong or not. I don't care if this video gets deleted or me banned, but it's the truth, and there's not enough time left to just mince words at this point. I'm going to be straight honest with you. Your soul and your eternity depends on it, and it's not just enough to just be a good person, unfortunately. Like, I believe that most people are, for the most part, good people. But that's not that's not everything that's important in this picture. And if you don't really get into what is, then you're playing with something you don't even understand you're messing with. And you might not understand it because you're being totally deceived and manipulated and misled by the vast majority of those that are educated and experts and the educated, knowledgeable, intelligent, influencing, whatever, right? You need to really just do yourself a favor, have an open mind, open up a Bible, and read it. And I guarantee you it's not as crazy or as fantasy-like or, I don't know, what, fairy tale-like or BS. There's more truth in there than there is in any. I also have a bachelor's degree, so it's not like I'm uneducated. I have a higher IQ than 95% of the people on Earth. And I've read immensely. I had a lot of time to read. But anyways, there's not a book I've ever read that, even textbooks on things that are. My first year of college or university was in a doctor of physical therapy program, a 5-year program at University of Buffalo, which I didn't do very well in because I never went to class. I didn't go to class at all through college, to be honest. But the information in those books is dense, and it has a lot of information in it. And I'm not saying that it's not right information. I'm not saying it's not accurate information about the human body or processes that go on within the human body. But there's nothing in those books that's going to help you in this life or the one after it. And let me assure you from experience, now 4 times over, there is something after this. I couldn't tell you exactly what it is, in a sense of I didn't get that far, unfortunately. Well, thankfully in one case, but unfortunately in the rest. But I'll tell you what, it definitely is there, and I was gone for, I think, somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes, past gone, like no pulse, no breathing, no nothing. I was flatlined for over 15 to 20 minutes, and I literally just gasped and came back to everyone's astonishment, and they almost all had heart attacks. Not really, but they were shocked beyond belief, let me just put it that way. And there's no explanation for that still to this day, other than a miraculous thing. And you don't have to believe me, I really don't care, but The one witness is now dead himself. The other witness has fled the area due to threats of bodily harm. And I don't know where the other witnesses were because I was kind of out of it. I was purple for like 2 weeks after that, literally purple. And it was that event was the one time that was the scarier one of the others. So that one actually was right before I got busted, which saved my life, because I'd be dead for good. I know that was my wake-up call, because I already had enough as the final wake-up call, and God literally put me behind bars to save my life. I know that. But like I'm saying, it's not about that story. The story is this: if you're questioning anything, if you don't believe in any of this stuff, just give it a chance. Read it and see what you can find in there, because it's not all the horrible stuff that it's made out to be. And if even growing up, I didn't know I knew God, like I said, through for what reason, I don't know exactly why I had that relationship or whatever. But I never read the Bible. I couldn't have told you what one of the sections or books of it were, other than maybe like what I had heard one of the 4 times a year I went to Catholic Mass, right? So, but once I did read it, boy, was I shocked of how insane I was captivated by it immediately. Even like the more traditionally like boring stuff, like in Tanakh, or the Old Testament of the Christians, Tanakh, Torah, Jewish words for this same books, right? Which that's generally considered like the more boring stuff. Or if you're some of these Christians who are really not into the religious part of it as they should be, it's not really as relevant to them. But I'll tell you what, even in like Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, there's so many gems and pieces of wisdom and interesting things in there that it's like better than any novel. It's better than any fiction that you could read. It's got more information and more insight, and it's more relevant on a personal level. I've never met a person who has, with an open mind, opened up the Bible, and that's not been forced to do it, like I said, with an open mind, and read it, that could actually read it, because it's kind of sad, but like most people don't think about this, especially in America. But if you go to a correctional facility, there's many people in there who just don't know how to read. They don't know how to write. There was a kid that I was in there with who he didn't really fit in. He was young. He was like 18. He was African American, and he was in an all-white room in prison that's like not like you kind of stick to your own. It's just the way it is in there. It's not like everybody hates each other. It's just the way it is, because there's safety in that, and the government honestly is the ones that create this. Like I don't know I don't want to get into that right now, but that's not the point. The point is, come to find out, this kid was really obnoxious, and I really did not like him at first. And it wasn't because he was African American, because some of my co-defendants were, and I had business dealings, very close business dealings with some of them for almost a decade or more. So I knew them very well. They knew me very well. But this kid was obnoxious. I'm not gonna lie. But ended up. I actually only got in. Okay, while I was in there, I did do some things I probably shouldn't have done. But the only thing I ever got caught doing and got in trouble for was this kid could not read, like, at all. He could not. He was definitely like probably had a learning disability, and no one probably took the time to actually try to teach this kid. And in that sense, that's like so sad. That's in itself to me is evil. To see a kid he was from New York City, poor family, and very, very clearly had a learning disability or more than one, and wasn't of very high intelligence. And that's not saying anything against him. That's just some people have a higher intellect than others inherently. Like, there's nothing wrong or nothing better than anyone due to their brain, like, or their level of intelligence. But what I'm saying is, what is evil is that these people were put in charge to, like, actually educate people. If I, a fellow prisoner of, this guy, could very clearly know that this kid had challenges that were definitely not met, and was probably where he was right next to me, this guy who was a real criminal, like me, the real criminal, not him, who went to college and can read and was blessed with an IQ that I should be a doctor right now, but that's not my course of life, and I would have not wanted to do that anyways. That was my parents' dream for me, not mine ever. If I could identify that, how do these teachers not? That to me is not laziness. That's not, that's screwed up. They deserve to be locked up for that. If you go into a profession where you're supposed to be educating, like, the youth, you better do your damnedest to do the best of your ability in that, because come on, like, you failed this kid badly, and there's so many people like that in there, it's not even funny. But like I said, I got me and this other very white kid who was German and had the same last name as a notorious SS officer, which is funny, is not because of that, but because of the situation I'm about to tell you. We both got in trouble, and we got punished severely for it. So at this point, we were at a military-style boot camp thing, right? And I'm like, it was legit military style. And so part of it was you had to, like, memorize this thing. Well, this kid couldn't even read, let alone memorize, like, this whole paragraph. He had failed like 5 times. He was the last person that needed to pass it in our room, and honestly, we were getting beat up for it. Like, we were getting our lockers tossed, our beds tossed, all the stuff. Had to do so much extra stuff for it, which everyone's getting angry at this kid, but it wasn't his fault, honestly. Well, we made this big billboard with the paragraph written out on it in big letters. We had another kid distracting, they call him DI, drill instructor, but it's just a CO wearing a DI's uniform. Anyways, so it's a cop pretending to be a military officer. Anyways, our room was right behind where this guy sat, and there was a wall, like just a little section of wall like this separating. He was sitting in his chair, the kid's sitting in the chair looking into our room while we're holding the poster up and trying to not get caught. And we made it for longer than we should have, because the kid was so obvious in it, and he kept looking at it, and he can't read very well, so we're like lipping it to him and holding it up, and like it was written like phonetically even. We were trying, like, we practiced with this kid with it and everything. And he made it like 3/4 the way through, even being so obvious, but we were like literally being tipped off by the other kid, and the guy was being distracted, so like every time that he kind of tried to look towards us, somebody would call him, and he would think maybe it was a fight or something or whatever, so he'd have to whatever, and we'd take it down and like jump back into it, right? Well, he caught on, he's not stupid, and this kid was giving us away really bad, and we were starting to laugh at some points because this kid had to like distract him 7 times or 8 times. We thought we were clever, I guess, but we got caught, needless to say. And thank God, of all the people who could have caught us, this guy was not normally on our dorm, and he was like a nerdy, dorky, middle-aged white guy who, honestly, I don't know how he had made it so long, except for that, like I said, it was in a boot camp. Like, it's probably why he was there, because if he was in a normal prison, he would have probably got hurt. You know what I mean? So he was probably there for a reason, but thank God he was, because we got punished really bad for it, but we didn't get, it never got officially reported. Otherwise, we would have had to redo the entire program, gone through all that all over again to try to help this kid. Well, he asked us why we would do something so stupid and risk our freedom and have to do another 6 months in prison to help some kid who wasn't even white, which was kind of screwed up. But he wasn't meaning it like that. He was just like, he couldn't understand it. And most of the guys in there, the cops in there, DIs, COs, whatever you want to call them, wouldn't have gave a crap about that. They would have literally just threw the book at us, recycled us. We would have had to do the whole program over, and it was near the end of it. It would have sucked really bad. And I almost had to do it again. Luckily, my counselor stuck up for me and ripped up the ticket I got, and that wasn't even my fault at all, honestly. This one was. I was guilty of this one, but like I said, by the grace of God, this cop actually took the time to ask us, because he was so shocked, like, why we would do something so stupid, especially for not another white kid, right? Shocking. People in prison could have, like, compassion for someone of a different skin color. So, like I said, he wasn't being like that, but I could see how that would look that way. When we explained to him exactly what had gone on, and he didn't know this kid and he didn't know us, so he had no reason to be lenient on us at all. And we explained, like, this kid cannot do this. He can't do it. Like, he literally can't. He can't even read. How is he supposed to memorize this whole thing and recite it back to you? Plus, he had a speech impediment, and he was not like a social person because of that. So he got very uncomfortable when he had to, like, talk at all. So he'd been failed completely by the system prior to this and up to this point. He didn't get in trouble for it because in that scenario, in a boot camp like that, that's how they do it. So we got in trouble. We had to serve the punishment, and he had to watch us, which was his punishment, which is not a punishment at all for this kid, because whatever. But anyways, we did it. We made a mockery of it. We should have gotten in trouble for that too, but we were not openly mocking it, but we were. And it turned out to be a hilarious thing, even though I couldn't walk for like 3 days after it, because we had to literally do like 6 hours of strenuous stuff, and I'm not unfit by any means, and I really hurt my leg after that. Like, I tried jogging, because you don't even get a day off if you're sore, like, or injured, where I tore my hamstring the next following one of the, maybe it was like the third day after that, blew it out so bad that they actually had to take me. 2 guys I'm not a small dude, maybe I look at in this video and I have lost a lot of weight, but I weighed 250, and they had to literally carry me, two guys carry me down to the infirmary, and holy cow, they don't give you a pass to get out of it for anything unless you're like dying. I had a pass to get out of any physical activity for, I think it was like 4 days, which is pretty generous, honestly, because of that injury. So they ran us in there, but it was worth it, and we did the right thing in that case. Like, we shouldn't have gotten punished at all, but we could have literally did another 6 months in prison for that, which is screwed up. So what is evil? You know, everybody's definition is different, but it exists. It exists very much so. There's people in there who do evil things to little kids for their own pleasure. If that ain't sick and twisted and evil, I don't know what is. There's people in there who do evil, disgusting things to women or elderly people or whatever, and not because they're mentally ill, just because they get off on that stuff and they're not sorry for it. And if they're ever let out, they're going to go right back and do it again. And usually those people don't make it very long around people like me or other people, and that's the truth as well. So they're usually like protected, which how screwed up is that? The people who do all this sick and twisted stuff on the outside, they don't have any qualms about it, and they relish in that. They'll laugh in the victims' families' faces. They'll brag about it in there until someone stabs them, and then, but it's a crazy world, and if you've never been in it, maybe I can understand you not thinking that evil exists. But I'll tell you right now, it exists, and it doesn't just exist in prison. There's people out there who have the power and wealth that I did business with who gave me the creeps. They didn't scare me, because if it came down to it, I would have got them first, or I would have died trying. And I was making them money, so I wasn't afraid of them in that sense. They gave me the chills because some of the stuff that I know they did, or I had heard about, which after meeting them I knew was no made up story, or that they had told me, or that I had witnessed, or maybe witnessed, let's just say witnessed, whatever, did not need to happen, or happen the way it did, or whatever. They were sharper than a tack, and they're people who have businesses, and some of them, let's just say, hold positions of power in society. And they'll never go to jail or prison for that. And if you met them, you'd probably think they were an upstanding citizen who is very wealthy and maybe even a good person. Yeah. You'll never see behind that. Most people won't, and they're lucky for that. But let me tell you what, that's no joke. It exists. I've seen it with these own two eyes, and I got the paperwork to prove my story. You can Google me if you want. You'll see. I got the qualifications for this one. So, by the grace of God, I was put in prison. Like I said, I didn't do a day more, a day less than the Lord thought I deserved for what the crimes I committed. Right? Do I think that I deserve that grace from God? Probably not. Probably took it a little bit lenient on me because all the hours and hours and hours of prayers I've spent before that and after and during and whatever. And if you trust in God, I'll tell you what, that trust goes a long way. Because I think that moment that really, in my mind, the moment that I know I believe that was the truth, just inherently, but when the DA laughed in my face and those D-techs were laughing in my face and mocking God and all this stuff, I knew right there that if anything, maybe not because of my deserving or whatever, or anything like that, but that God wasn't going to let that happen, if not just to show them that they were very wrong about the situation and about their beliefs and about what they said, and he did. And so maybe it was that. Maybe I should thank them. But no, the glory goes to God. So praise God for that one. But this video is way long. I went into crazy tangents, and I didn't get into any details because I'm not trying to go back to prison over things that happened so long ago. Nor am I trying to put anyone else behind bars. Because everyone gets their, reaps their rewards and reaps their ills in time and in a more fair and has a judge who's more fair, we'll say, and that their authority is far greater than anyone's on earth, and it's not my place nor anyone else's to make that judgment for them. So what I'm saying is, don't put yourself in that position by fooling yourself, being deceived, or just believing that you aren't going to face that judgment, or that everything that exists here in the physical, in the here and now, in this short life. This is not a joke, and I mean, I don't know what else to say to try to put my point across. I've been dead 4 times. I've been in prison. I should still be in prison. I should have never got out of prison. I mean, I've done so many goods and so many bads and so many whatevers. But the one thing that has always got me through anything and been the one saving grace in my life for certain, and the miracles that I have experienced and witnessed and not been deserving of at all, have to do with one thing, and it's not because of my good deeds or my lack of sin. It's because my faith and trust and my relationship with God. That's it. Because all of us fall short in the end, and without that relationship, it doesn't matter how much good you do, or how much bad you do. If God can do the things that He's done in my life that are inexplicable by legal means, by society means, by biological and medical means, by anything, like so many things that just don't happen, there's no explanation for, and no one has been able to or will ever explain in any way that is of the physical realm. In my life, saving grace, I'm telling you right now. So if you want more detail, or you want to me to prove any of this that I can, I have very much proof of everything I spoke of, or just ask me personally. I'll give you my full name. You can Google me and you can see what I'm talking about, because there is hundreds of news articles online about the exploits of my criminal life and the potential for me going away forever. So yeah, praise be to God. It is only by His grace and glory that I stand before you here, a free man and alive. So believe me or not, don't, but your eternity depends on it. So open up a Bible, have an open heart, and bring Jesus and God into your life. Till next time.